So for the next trick we're going to do using conditional execution, we're going to use the if-else structure. And on the right, we have the flow chart for it. We're going to pick a random number, 0 or 1. If it's equal to 1, we're going to say they flip the heads and it wins. Otherwise, we're going to say tails wins, and then we'll continue with the program. And, of course, you could code this out where the user picks heads or tails, and then we compare, okay? So we'll just do the simplified version of what we see here on the chart. So we're going to go back to the same code that we were working on, the conditional execution code. And now what we're going to do here is we're going to go on the next line, simulate coin toss. Okay? So we'll put flip equals random.rand range, and in this case we'll put 2. Okay? And now what we're going to do is if flip is equal to 1, I'm going to do the TK message box. Actually, why did I do it that way? Let's just do output equals. Okay, now here's the deal. Since there are only 2 possible outcomes, unless you watch the Twilight Zone where the coin landed on the edge and it stayed there and then all time stopped. I've never seen that happen, but it would be really cool if it really were to happen. Actually, then it was really bad because the guy was all upset and distraught. But no, really, in a coin toss, it's either heads or it's tails. It's one or the other. Since there's 2 possible outcomes, all we have to do is check for one condition, and we throw the else for the remaining possibility. So if flip does not happen to be 1, there's only one other possible outcome, and that's that it's 0, right? So since there's only one other possible outcome, we don't need to check is flip equal to 0. We already checked for 1, so we're just going to write else. So in other words, if flip is not 1, we're just going to say you flipped tails. Or whatever the appropriate phrase for that is. Okay? So we probably should have a TK message box, show info, press enter to simulate the tossing of a coin. But we're just going to test it now. I'll let you kind of code that out. And now we're just actually going to, since we used output as the variable, we can just copy that code there. So I just right-clicked and copied the whole thing. I'm going to space it out a little bit so it looks all nice and pretty. You want your code readable. Add, one-line return in between, other items. We'll keep all of our conditional execution, all of one structure together, and then separate out the rest. And let's just go ahead and try it. F5. Then we're going to demonstrate 1 and a 2 for a total of 3. You flipped heads. Let's run it again. See if we get tails. Yeah. Hey, I won that time. Heads. Did I do tails last time? I don't even honestly remember. So I'll do it one more time. But you get the idea. There's only 2 possible outcomes. Rand range gives you a 1 or a 0. Okay? And then we don't have to show them what number we did there. We're just going to use it to determine whether they got heads or tails. Okay? And there's other ways we can code it, but there's your if-else structure. Up above is our standard if structure. So here's my next structure, the if-elif-else structure. And in Python, we're going to go back to the total of dice rolls. So we're actually going to modify our program here to do the if-elif-else structure. So in our simulated of rolling of the dice, if you were to roll a 7, we would say you win. If total were equal to 2, we would say you lose. Otherwise, we're just going to say it's a draw. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. So that's what it would look like, the simplified version. Let's go ahead and code it. Could you guys go back up to where you have the total is equal to 7? On here, hit a backspace, and type elif total is equal to 2. Output plus equals snake eyes. You lose. Finally, we do our else. Output plus equals. It's a draw. Let's run it to test it. Click OK. We're aiming for code coverage. 1, 4 and a 1 for a total of 5. It's a draw. We run it again. 5 and a 2 for a total of 7. You win. So that's 2 of our code coverages. We run it again. It's a draw. And we're just going to run until we get the other. And finally, after about 8 more tries, we get these results. We got a 1 and a 1 for a total of 2, so you lose snake eyes. Okay, so we met all of our code coverage. We hit each of these. Notice the else is the catch-all. In fact, that one tends to be run more frequently than the others. But one of the things that's interesting about this is that no matter what, we've got our main basis covered. If we wanted to check for another, like if total is equal to 11, we can add our own if-elif after here. And we can also do one for 12 as well. We can do other outcomes depending on what the numbers they are.